Parents of Reddit, what is the most absurd thing you have found on your kid's social media? My stepson is 7. Found a bunch of searches for Dominicans with no hands and feet, Dominicans with no heads, Dominican chests, Dominican torsos, Dominican legs, Dominicans in stores, Dominicans for sale, silver Dominicans, black Dominicans, white Dominicans. I was at a loss of how to bring it up to him. Thankfully, the next day we were in a clothing store and he asked me why Dominicans don't have hands or heads, then why there are so many different colored Dominicans. I remembered the internet searches and became a little upset. I told him to be quiet because what he was saying could be taken offensively by Dominican people. He then got frustrated and loudly said Dominicans aren't people as he pointed to a statue next to us. I breathed a sigh of relief and said mannequins. This was probably the early 2000s. Me and my buddy were off school for the summer and he would hang out my house. Occasionally we'd look at porn on the family computer. One day my dad comes home from work and comes downstairs and says, "Hey, you guys missed the bus." I'm like, "Yeah. It's summer, there's no school." My dad responds, "The bang bus, mother of God." We forgot to close the facing browser. That my son is an urban explorer. He's 14 and I saw some video of him and his friends sneaking into an old Air Force base and climbing to the top of an air hangar. My younger brother thought that when you entered more searches, it would delete the ones before at some point. So I look on his iPad one day and see a search for boobs or sex. One of the two. The search after that was cheese, and then cheese, and then cheese, and so on. So many cheeses. 9-year-old son's Google history. Do girls in England poo blood for a month? Can I do the inverse? My dad recently opened an Instagram account, and within 10 minutes of having it, managed to accidentally upload a screenshot of our Wi-Fi password to it. Like, I have no idea how he managed that. Even put a filter on it, for some reason. I have a 6-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl who are pretty obsessed with YouTube gamers. They narrate their play like they are performing for subscribers, and my son actually figured out how to post videos to YouTube. I did not find this out until they had posted a few already. My middle-aged uncle accidentally posted a picture of his erect penis to Facebook once. It took him about an hour to work out how to delete it. In the meantime, there were a lot of apology statuses. They had ridiculous titles where one of them had obviously just been using the next suggested word, so it came out like, "The ghost of the wealthy, but if they didn't then deserve." And it would be a video of my foot while I was asleep on the couch, and you'd hear one of them say, "foot," and then giggle madly, and then the video cuts out. Checked my 11-year-old son's search history to find a number of interesting questions. Do men grow vaginas? Will my penis disappear when I'm 18? Will I become a girl? How do I save my penis? I asked him about his search history a couple days later, and he told me that some kids in his school told him that when boys turn 18 they turn into girls and lose their penis. Those bastards. My kids are preteen. I was on the computer one time and found a series of internet searches. Kissing, making out, condom, at least it wasn't hand-holding, peck on the cheek, horsecock, dildo, lube. Not a parent, but the other day my 12-year-old little brother posted a topless photo on Instagram with the caption, "Fat boy." My son has autism. High functioning but still autistic. He has been mainstream most of his schooling, and in 5th grade one of the boys told the others how to search vagina and boobs on the computer. Well, my son, in all of autism glory, was searching vagina not vagina and was only getting pics of leaves. LMAO. Poor kid. Not a parent, but my cousin one time got onto the computer when he was 11 or 12 or so and searched for naked 12-year-old girls. I was there when his stepdad checked through the browser history, and needless to say he and my cousin had a chat about acceptable search terms. My kids are too young for Twitter or Snapchat, but they love to watch YouTube. I started getting notifications a few months ago from people replying to my comments on conspiracy videos. Found out my son has a curiosity about flat earthers and doomsday preppers. Not super similar but related. My mom gave me and my sister diaries when we were about 14 to 15, and I instantly knew it was a trap and they would read it, so I drew a monster truck and some stick figures doing kung fu, then left it. My sister instantly decided to write about the dude she faced under the pier and how she had been smoking weed every day and how much she hated my parents. I have never seen someone dig themselves a grave so deep so fast. They read them the minute we left for school in the morning. hopped on my nephew's tablet and proceeded to pull up the internet browser. Immediately I was staring at a screenshot of an overweight homeless-looking Santa, knocking the cornhole out of a much younger Mrs. Claus. I immediately asked my nephew what kind of research he was doing with his Santa video, and his face turned fire engine red and he scurried back to his room. My 15-year-old step-bro-in-law used my wife's laptop while he was visiting the house and forgot to clear the history. His Google searches included girls pussing, hot puss, pussy willows, boobs and pussing sex, HMMM. Now that I typed this out, I am wondering if he was just misspelling pissing. That would make a little sense, albeit not comforting. When my twins were young, elementary school, they were looking up The Simpsons and accidentally came across cartoon Simpsons pornography. The computer was in the living room, so I heard them giggling and turned to see two guilty little faces. So hard not to laugh and so disturbing. What a conversation. The sight of Milhouse and Lisa is forever burned into my retinas. Okay, it should be my parents telling this story, but here goes. So when I was a youngin' and just exploring the internet, I would usually just go on Disney Channel to play games, but I wanted to find more sites with fun girly stuff on them. So of course I just went to grils.com. Well, it took me right to a porn site and my little self was like whoops and closed it right away. Well, apparently my dad had been looking at the browser history and noticed. So my dad is interrogating my two older brothers, asking who was looking at porn, and they of course said it wasn't them. My dad was persistent with trying to get them to confess until I come down the stairs and confessed that it was me. My brothers had the biggest sigh of relief. Not a parent, but when I was a kid I found an adult flash game website. I would go on it whenever I had the chance. Eventually my mom found out and she told my dad to talk to me about it. My dad and I got into the car and he started this serious talk about how the internet is a very powerful tool. I felt really guilty. Then he told me how to erase the browsing history. When I was like 12, my dad found Dragon Ball Z hentai in my history searches and proceeded to look through all of the pages while I hid in the bathroom pretending to take a shit. I remember him yelling my name and having to mentally prepare to deny everything. LMAO. I'm scared as shit to have kids and find their porn searches. And of Reddit. I was trying to figure out my niece's age, but it was too late to call my mom and ask. I remembered she has an Instagram account, and I thought that might help me figure out how old she is. I looked her up. She has the standard tween Insta bio about what activities she likes and a list of like 15 of her BFFs, immediately followed by pondering, and I quote, "Mostly why do people hate me?" She's 12. She is definitely 12. Daughter was 6 at the time. She was supposed to be asleep and I go to charge up her Kindle and can't find it. Go to her room and quietly sneak in. I find her watching a video under a blanket. It's popular mechanics and how to build your own windmill. She had a mock model in the corner of the room she was working on. Definitely wasn't expecting that. Not social media, but once caught both of my nieces playing an animated game online where the objective was to spank a cartoon butt with a paddle. Every time they'd swing the paddle at the butt, it would emit the sound of a woman moaning. They couldn't understand why the game was inappropriate and were laughing hysterically while playing. When he was little, my brother once wanted to help us find a cool new purse to order for my mom's birthday. He image searched fun bags, and my parents had to answer a lot of questions. Not a parent, but one time my mom made me really mad and my dad had to talk to me about how I googled how to kill my mom and why it's wrong to think killing someone will get me PS2 games. I have two quick stories. When I was a little girl, I wanted to play some Barbie games or look at girl stuff, so I went to grils.com. Went downstairs to my mom crying in order to rat myself out. My little sister had something similar happen. She wanted to look at new bikes in order to decide what to ask Santa for. She went to dicks.com hoping to see Dick's Sporting Goods. Instead she saw a lot of schlong. Guess it runs in the family. I found out my daughter played a massive role in a series of events to plague our town. She went to a party at the bad boy's house with her friend who had a crush on said bad boy. My daughter was such a good girl and honestly kind of nerdy, but she went anyways to be a wing woman for her friend. My daughter ended up cutting her hand while trying to shotgun a beer. Her friend then proceeded to ditch her to lose her virginity to the bad boy. Meanwhile, my daughter was never seen again as she was dragged into the pool in the Upside Down by the Demogorgon. Once I called my mom and asked her what a penis, pronounced penis instead of penis, because I got an email asking me if I wanted a larger one. Edit. I am a female. Was 7 during the call. A guy on Instagram sent my 12-year-old stepdaughter and her friends dick pics. Not just once, but many times. The police are involved and he has been located in NYC, but we have yet to hear anything back yet. Facing disgusting. Edit. The man is at least 30. Oh dear God, reading this makes me realize how much my parents probably saw in my search history before I knew about incognito mode. My dad once caught me on one of the Newgrounds NSFW games due to search history. I was 11. He called me back and then made me explain myself. Wasn't a fun night. I once found my sister trying to search sexy boy pennies. She might have just missed an S, but I still find it hilarious. Not a parent, but this happened with a person I know's kid. He was printing out pornographic images and putting them in the elementary library books. He also photoshopped the librarian's head onto a naked woman and passed it around school, and he would sexually harass her all the time, telling her to suck his dick. He also started downloading dick pics to send to girls. He was 10 years old. He's in juvie now. Kinda close. So I have a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old. They both love to watch kids YouTube, mostly these annoying toy unwrapping videos. I don't know. Anyhow, the other day I was working on my computer and they were playing Play-Doh. My 2-year-old comes into the room and asks my wife, while I'm listening, "Mommy, I made this." My wife, "Oh, that's awesome." 2-year-old, "Do you like it? Let me know in the comments." My wife and I, DEAD. My 15-year-old dropping acid on Snapchat. So, not just shitty choices, but we're raising a kid stupid enough that not only created video evidence, which was beyond dumb, but to keep it under my story. Sigh.